I'm with author-producer Mara Gibbs, who was born and raised in Los Angeles. She graduated from University High School and attended UC Santa Cruz and UCLA. Mara's book, Everybody Eats There, is the result of her passion for travel and food. What was the inspiration for your interest in food?
One, my parents, because my mother was always a great cook, and we grew up eating really well until she decided to go teach at the Pritikin Institute, when she stopped cooking like Julia Child and started cooking like him, and we all stopped eating at home. My brother, Peter Morton, went off to live in London, and all he ate, he was not a gourmet, was burgers and fries. And I mean, I'm not going to go into his story because everybody knows it. Like, he ended up very famous in the restaurant world.
But he started in England, and as the Great American Disaster, with the stuff he loved to eat, hamburgers and fries.
And now he won't even touch the stuff, so it's like he's a total health freak, more than I am.
I didn't know your mother was such a great cook.
Oh yeah, she's a fantastic cook. And one thing great about my mom is she will always look at a recipe. I cut them out, but I invent. I look at a recipe and then I decide to do what I want to do. She really follows recipes.
Oh, she does.
So I cut them out for her when I want her to cook them. But on my very first trip to Europe, I was about 13 years of age, and I kind of didn't really want to go with them. And it was a trip through France, and they were hitting all of these fabulous chateaux and great restaurants, and I was very rebellious, and I'd show up in my cut-off jeans and pretend I hated everything, when secretly inside I loved every bite. And probably my first moment I remember was eating at a restaurant in Telloir, which is this gorgeous place on Lac d'Annecy, and we went to this restaurant called Perbise, which is gorgeous, and you're on this fantastic lake, and you're sitting outside, and the waiters are giving you this table service and opening up copper pots. And I remember eating this dish of écrivisse, which were like sort of baby lobster in a kind of sherry cream sauce. And I remember this dish so well, and I remember little things like the cavillon melon that I ate.
But you were a teenager.
Yeah. And I was pretending to hate everything. Oh yeah, I remember every...
And then you had to come back to LA.
And then I came back to LA. And I remember every time I saw a French person with their sweaters tied around their neck or smoking a gauloise or a gitan, I was like, I'd go up to them and I'd go, "Are you French?" And that's when I decided I wanted to learn French.
Is that right?
I learned French first, and then I learned Italian.
But after college, here you were, you went to UC Santa Cruz, you went to UCLA, and then you had to decide what to do. What did you decide to do?
Well, I studied languages, and then I went into the film department at UCLA, and I loved acting and film, and I was crazy about that, but they're bureaucratic at UCLA, and they don't let you change majors too easily. So I used to audit classes in the film department, and the classes I hated, I was always late to. So I was like psychology, which, you know, in the Jewish religion, we should actually, you know, all be studying it harder, and then we wouldn't have to pay all those shrinks so much money.
That's so, right. So you were late to those classes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But anyway, I tended to miss a lot of those because they were also early morning classes, and I hate early mornings.
So what did you do? So you decided to go to Europe and produce. What were you producing?
No, what happened is that I took a year off at UCLA and I went to live in Italy.
Ah, you went to Italy first.
I went to London.
Yeah.
And I ended up working for my brother.
Oh,
and I first started working at the Hard Rock, and
were you singing? You had a singing career.
I was also singing. I was also singing.
You were singing where?
I did my first backup job with Harry Nilsson.
And in London?
In England, yeah, because I cut a demo with Island Records. And, you know, and then I went back to live in Italy, and I ended up doing a singing tour with a very well-known singer there, Umberto Tozzi, who wrote a song called Gloria, which I think...
Alberto Tozzi?
Umberto Tozzi. And
Gloria.
I worked in another restaurant in Rome there, so I've worked in restaurants all over the place.
So that, just knowing the food and working in that situation.
Traveling.
And then what happened to your singing career?
Well, I did some more demos in the States and was not particularly ambitious and was more interested in extracurricular activities like boyfriends and things like that, and was not aggressive with the career. I had record labels give me money, and I wasn't ambitious like some of these young girls today. I admire them for that. So I ended up having to work with, you know, my brother, and then I ended up managing a restaurant in Los Angeles called Il Giardino, which was one of the first real Tuscan restaurants.
On 3rd Street.
I put them on the map, and I stole all our customers from Morton's, which we had opened up.
One of my favorite restaurants. We used to eat there all the time, Il Giardino.
It spawned all of the great chefs out of LA. It spawned Agustino, Giorgio. I mean,
downtown?
No, it was here. It was
no, it spawned the restaurant downtown. I forgot the name. Where?
Oh, I remember, but it's on the top of my head. But nonetheless, it was the most authentic, because before that all you had was sort of red sauce, Americanized, you know, mafioso type Italian restaurants. And this was the first real Italian restaurant, so of course everybody ate there.
Is that right? That is what we always used to say. That was like the saying, everybody ate there.
Well, I had to argue with the owner because he'd want to give away tables to walk-ins, and I said, you can't do that. Barry Diller's coming in and he wants his table when he wants it. You have to respect their, you know, honor their reservations. It was
so you started, so you knew this business, and you were in a restaurant where everybody ate.
Right.
And,
well, Morton's,
and then the book.
Everybody ate there. Il Giardino, everybody ate there. And what happened is, over the years, I did start working in the film business, and I put 2 directors on the map, both Italian, of course. One just directed Will Smith's new movie, Gabriele Muccino.
So do you speak Italian?
I speak fluent Italian.
And French?
And French, and some English. Some English. My English is pretty bad. And I do speak Spanish. You have to in Los Angeles.
So here's the book. Everybody eats there.
Well, this came about because I had a film project about a chef, way before the Food Channel ever became as popular as it is. And like it happens in the film business, I don't want to go into it, but yeah, slightly screwed on the story, but I put my foot down. I said, nobody does this story but me. So I had this passion for restaurants, and I used to email my friends after I would go to something great, and I emailed a friend of mine after eating in a restaurant in New York, and he said to me, damn, I wish I'd gone with you, but I'm going to follow what you told me to do. And he did, and he said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, or he said, or being a food critic. And I said, no, I don't want to be a food critic because I don't want to eat out every night in a restaurant. And I'm not a critic. I'm more of an observer. I like to watch. I like to watch what's going on in a restaurant. I don't like to criticize because every restaurant has something great to offer.
So let's get into these restaurants that are so great. I got
this idea, and I came to my co-author, William Stadium, who I used to be the food critic for LA Magazine. He'd written for many, many magazines, and he's written a number of books. And I also knew he was passionate about food, like I was. And I came up with this idea, and he says, oh, no, we'll never get an agent. No, we'll never get a book deal. And I said, yes, we will, yes, we will, yes, we will, and we did.
And then you had to pick 100 legendary restaurants. How'd you do that?
Well, between the 2 of us, we're both well-traveled. Maybe Bill a little more so than I am. And we went through the key cities in the world. So we have Moscow, Tokyo, Sydney, LA, New York, San Francisco, Miami, Rio, Sao Paulo, London, Paris, Rome, Madrid, Venice.
And then you have this all-encompassing...
And the south of France, sorry.
Yeah, but you have this little thing that covers the continent, European...
Right, we divided up the book into sort of sections.
Yeah, but so what makes a restaurant legendary? I mean, you're in all these famous cities, but what makes a restaurant legendary?
Okay, we have what we call the 3 Fs, food, fun, and fame.
Right.
And each of these places are fun because... And I will speak for myself. I am a great cook. I have friends that are great cooks. I love to entertain at home. But there's nothing more fun than going out to a restaurant and people watching. So I love to be in a place where the food has to be probably secondary you know, because most of the really fabulous restaurants, which I love too, don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of Thomas Keller and Jean-Georges Van der Reichen and Alain Ducasse and Daniel Boulou. They're fantastic chefs, but they're very serious restaurants. I like to have fun when I go out.
You talked about fun and the stars, and one of the things that legendary restaurants have are the Michelin stars, but they also have celebrity stars.
Right.
How important are those things?
I don't really care about the Michelin stars,
you don't
because
care.
I think the Michelin stars only rate French restaurants. It's very rare when they give a star to anything but a French restaurant. So for me, you know, it might work in France, but in other cities in the world, I don't even judge it. I mean, we did put some restaurants in the book that were starred that are not French.
Oh, right.
In London, we have
right.
Hakkasan, and that's one of the few restaurants that are not French. It's Chinese.
And in L.A.?
In L.A.,
they don't have stars, do they?
Nobody has stars. We have movie stars.
Yeah, so that's the
we
difference.
have movie stars and political stars.
So we had Mr. Chow, Morton's.
We have Giorgio Ago, the Ivy, Nate and Now's, and the coffee shop at the Beverly Hills Hotel. On any given day, you can walk in there and see somebody famous.
And those are fun places, like you're talking about.
But they also have good food. And you have to know that that's the second thing. Each of these places that we write about, I don't care what it is, all of them have a certain quality that they maintain.
So let me tell you, you have, you go to these restaurants, and sometimes you don't even have to look at the menu because you are so in. What is that about?
I know. I went to the Ivy the other night, and I didn't look at the menu.
You don't use the menu?
I asked him for what the specials were, and I
is that what you do?
I kind of knew what I wanted. I'm a creature of habit, so each place has something that I love.
And you mentioned that.
And we put it in the book.
I know. I think that's so great that it's in the book.
They're the specialties.
And before we leave, I know the 10 Commandments. I think the last commandment is really great, to check your check.
Absolutely. I had a little experience in the south of France. Be sure when you eat in these restaurants that you check your bill to make sure that they haven't overcharged you, double charged you, etc., etc., etc.
But if you're going to a legendary restaurant, don't you think that you should have the confidence that that's not going to happen?
Well, guess what? In some legendary restaurants, they're cash restaurants. And cash restaurants are very hard to have a paper trail. I went to a restaurant called Tétu in the south of France, and guess what? I paid my 147 euros. That's nearly $200 for a dinner. I was doing research on the book. And mind you, my publisher was not paying for this. This came out of my pocket.
So your research was all on your own?
All on our own. We paid for it out of our pocket, okay?
So it wasn't a PR. This isn't any PR stunt.
No, and not at all. We paid ourselves. Nobody gave us any free dinners anywhere. So, not even in my own family. So, no, I take that back. But there's got to be one place you can eat for free.
Exactly.
And that has to be at home. But nonetheless, I left that restaurant after paying, and some friends of mine came the next night, and the owner of the restaurant told them that I had charged my dinner to them.
Oh, to your friends?
Absolutely. And they had taken me the night before for dinner, and I interviewed the owner afterwards. And I got this message from them, and I was furious. And I tracked them down, and I said I did nothing of the sort. And I told friends of my family who had pushed me to go to Tétu to include them in the book because it's so famous.
Yes.
That, you know, it's a fabulous restaurant. They're famous for the bouillabaisse. They're famous for the tomatoes provençal. Well, guess what? They also double charge, and they did. I paid my bill, and my friend paid my bill again.
Oh, so that's really bad.
He didn't know.
That's commandment number 10. Number 10. And we have to go, but I know, think about the kitchen and the chef and how to dress and give your table up so that they'll love you. And I thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you, Joan, for having me, please.
And keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. Bye.